Hi, I'm Troy Haefele, assistant coach and offensive coordinator at Nazareth College. I would like to thank Coach Samadi and the entire Richmond staff for putting together the Coaching Through Cancellation initiative. I know I've learned a ton throughout this, and I hope to help you guys get better and improve your game. I'll be talking about footwork and shooting development drills to help you become a more efficient player. First drill we'll talk about is our pop shooting drill. We want to pop with a quarterback drop step. We want to transfer our weight and change direction back to our target, getting our momentum to the cage. And then we want to work on our shooting mechanics from there. The footwork and our shooting mechanics, we want to make sure that we're in a loaded and athletic stance, that we're using a back step, which helps us load our core and preloads our core rotation naturally. We want to be explosive off of our back leg. We want to make sure we're pointing our toe at our target and make sure we're standing tall through our front leg, which will help us rotate our hips and make sure we're getting all of our hips through our shot. With our hands, we want to make sure that they're pushed back and that they're behind us, not out and away, but more back and extended. We want to make sure our butt end is facing our target. We want to make sure that our top hand, as we're swinging our hips through and swinging our hands through, comes through above our head. Just like a pitcher in baseball, allows us to have more snap, accuracy, and power behind our shot. We want to make sure that our hands are violent and we're following through to our opposite hip. In this drill, we'll have a progression of a pop into a shot and a pop into a hitch using a 2 or 3 step getaway, which are sprinting steps to create separation to free our hands after the hitch. We want to start the drill in an athletic position as we use our quarterback drop step to pop. We want to transfer our weight and change direction and get our momentum back to the cage. We want to make sure our hands are in a loaded position as we back step. We want to make sure our legs are loaded and being able to explode out of our back leg and point our front toe to the cage. As we bring our hands through, we want to again make sure that our top hand comes above our head. That'll give us more snap and power behind our shot. We want to make sure our front toe is pointing to our to the cage. We want to make sure that we stand tall through our front leg, which will help our hips snap all the way through our shot. Again, we want to pop, transfer our weight, step down to the cage, snapping our hips through. Here are a couple examples on uninterrupted. We can also do this drill simulating a pop from the crease to a wing or a pop laterally across the field. Make sure we're transferring our weight and stepping to the goal. Now we'll use our hitch. Same footwork applies here with a pop. We'll transfer our weight, get into our fundamental shooting footwork, and make sure our hands are in our wind-up position as we step forward into our shot to sell our hitch. Again, using the same footwork. Now we want to keep our toe in a neutral position to allow us to be athletic off of our front leg and explosive off our front leg to create separation with our defenseman. As you'll see in these examples, my hands are remaining pretty quiet here. As you sell your hitch, you want to slide your front hand from a wind-up position to your front hip, and you want to turn and rotate your torso just a little bit to sell that hitch. Again, we want to be explosive off that front leg to make sure that we're getting into a 2-step getaway, which are sprint steps to pull away from the defenseman and free our hands. Our next drill is our drift shooting drill. Drift is a concept to create space for a dodger, mostly just a fade as an adjacent player. Okay, it's really important to make sure that we maintain a loaded position as we fade and drift away to make sure that we're ready to catch this ball and snap it out of our stick quickly. We want to make sure that we drift as a threat to the goal and that we don't drift to the sideline or to the end line, making us not a threat and allowing that our defenseman to have a free double. It's really important that we do this so we put our defenseman in a tough situation, making him decide whether he's going to stay with us as we drift, whether he's going to maintain his position to take space away from the dodger or whether he's not, he's going to help adjacently. We want to make sure as we're catching this ball, we're changing direction to our target and we're getting into our shooting footwork. This progression will be a shot, a drift into a shot, a drift into a hitch, and then a drift into a face dodge. Again, we want to drift away, creating space for the dodger, maintaining a loaded position. We're drifting into dangerous areas of the field, ready to catch the ball loaded and step down to the goal. Here's our drift with a hitch. Again, set up cones so you can be explosive off your front leg, simulating getting up and around them to pull away from a defenseman. Something important that we talk to our players about is getting comfortable in your windup. Being comfortable in your windup allows you to make decisions and moves out of your windup without hesitation. Now here's a drift into a face dodge. Again, it's really important to sell our windup and our same shooting footwork, whether we're hitching or face dodging, and using these windup moves to make the defense advantage and capitalize on a defenseman's poor approach. After our face dodge, we want to make sure we're getting back to the middle of the field and finishing in front. Our next drill is our bounce and re-square drill. In this drill, we'll be working on our dodging footwork, which consists of squaring up, which is squaring our shoulders and our hips with our defenseman so that he can't take an angle on us after we make our initial move. We'll be working on our jab step, which is a hard step opposite of the way we're going to go. We're going to sell our head and our hands with that step and be explosive out of that step to pull away from the defenseman. And then we'll work on our split dodge footwork, which is a jab step, a plant, and an explode. This is more of a two-step foot split dodge where we're jabbing with selling it with our head and our hands. On the plant, we explode. We turn our torso to give our defenseman the skinny side of our body so that we can slip checks. We'll also work on our bounce footwork, being able to control slides with bounces, but also being able to control slides with our eyes, seeing the field, and our hands using pump fakes, look back fakes, and passing posture to hold slides off. Our bounce footwork that we use is a kick push step, which is being able to kick our outside foot to the area of field that we want to get to and pushing off our inside foot to get there. We'll also use quarterback drop step as bounce steps, which are crossover steps and a little bit quicker lateral movement than the kick push steps. After those, we'll be able to re-square with our defenseman, again, squaring up his hips and his shoulders. We'll be able to do this at dangerous areas of the field after we hopefully collapse and penetrate the perimeter of the defense with our initial dodge. The progression of this drill will be an alley dodge, where we'll re-square on the wing and re-dodge from the wing, going either top side or underneath. We'll sweep, where we'll re-square and re-dodge in the middle of the field. And then we'll dodge from X, where we'll re-square and re-dodge at the island. Going to the video, we'll break down our split footwork here first. So we'll see a jab step. We'll sell it with our head and our hands. Our plant step, where we're explosive off of this step, where we're going to explode out of it, getting downhill here, down the alley. And then we'll turn our torso, giving our defenseman our skinny side being able to slip contact. On our bounce, we'll bounce, get our head up, make sure that defenseman can't double us or slide to the back of our head. Now as we re-square, again, we'll re-square up with our defenseman, dodge from a dangerous area of the field, and use our dodging footwork. We'll jab, plant, and go. On the shot here, it's important to make sure you turn the corner and get your momentum going back downhill to the goal. Something that you can do as a coach or with a partner during this drill is stand inside and hold up numbers so that the dodger has to stay accountable to keeping their head up and hands up to the middle of the field. Again, looking at this from a different view where we can see our jab step and we'll see us turning the corner to get downfield on our shot. Looking at this view, we're able to see where we're able to penetrate the defense and dodge from dangerous areas of the field, where if we free our hands, it's a good time to shoot. Same progression, but we'll work on getting underneath this time instead of re-dodging back top side. As we dodge here, it's really important as we re-dodge to make sure we're getting back to the middle of the field after we dodge underneath on the re-dodge. Next progression is a sweep where we'll re-square in the middle of the field. Again, using great dodging footwork, keeping our eyes up and using our head and our hands and our bounces to be able to control slides. We'll see a jab step here where we'll use our head and our hands to stay to the middle of the field, hold off slides, re-square in the middle, and then use our split footwork to take our shot. Out of our re-dodges, if we want to use pull-up shots, we want to make sure we get 2 or 3 step getaway out of it, which are sprinting steps before we shoot. Again, looking at it on a field where we can actually see where these re-dodges bring us into dangerous spots of the field. Now we'll dodge from behind, we'll re-square and re-dodge at the island. It's really important as we dodge from behind and bounce at the island that we bounce with our head up to prevent doubles, and we're using our hands to get us into a passing posture where we're preventing slides, controlling slides, and that we're controlling our defenseman's stick. Hopefully it comes up with us, so when we re-dodge, we're able to get either top side or underneath. That time we take top side. In this example, we'll go underneath out of it, we'll bounce, re-square, get our hands up, we'll get underneath. Again, make sure you finish in front. The last drill will be our turn corner series. This will help winning top side and winning the middle of the field. We want to start this drill in our contact stance in a low athletic position. All right, our bottom hand will be on our back hip, our front elbow will be pinned across our stomach, and our front shoulder, we want to make sure it's underneath our defenseman's so we're ready to run through contact, create contact, and run through sticks. Again, we'll work on our bounce footwork, our kick push steps like an offensive lineman where we're kicking our outside leg to where we're going or pushing off our inside leg to get there. And our quarterback drop step, which is a crossover step and a little bit of a quicker lateral movement. We'll work on re-attacking the head of our defenseman's stick out of these bounces to get top side. Again, we want to make sure we're getting to our contact stance by tucking our hand to our back hip, pinning our elbow across our stomach, and we're heavy on our outside leg to run through contact and to run through our defenseman's stick above his top hand. Our progression here will be wrapping the crease. Again, we want to be strong on the outside foot. We'll work on bouncing using a kick push step to an overhand release, work on bouncing with a quarterback drop step to a sidearm release when we're shooting sidearm turning the corner, or up the hash, we want to make sure we punch our hands upfield first to extend them and shoot around our defenseman. And then we'll work on our jumpers out of a bounce. Here, we're working on wrapping the crease. We talk about beating our defenseman from behind. If we're above his top hand, that means we have a step on our defenseman and we want to run through his stick. So if we're above his top hand, we want to wrap the crease and win top side. As you can see here, we're in that contact stance. We're loaded in our legs. Our front shoulder is underneath our defenseman's shoulder. Our bottom hand is on our back hip, and our front elbow is pinned across our stomach, preventing lifts. This puts you in a really strong position to be able to run through checks and create contact. We want to be able to create contact as an offensive player turning the corner before that defenseman creates contact with us. Again, we want to be aggressive on our outside foot, really win the middle of the field, and wrap the crease. In our next progression, we'll now work on our bounce footwork and re-attacking with an overhand release up the hash and turning the corner on the run. We'll see a kick push bounce step here where we're going to kick our outside leg to the direction where we want to go, and we'll push off our inside leg to get there. And then we'll re-attack upfield above our defenseman's stick, and we'll get back into that contact stance, low, loaded, hands are tucked, and we're aggressive and strong on our outside foot to run through contact. As we're turning the corner on our shot, we want to make sure our hands come from our back hip up to our shoulder, never releasing our hands and exposing them to a check. Our footwork on our shot, It's going to be a combination of our inside foot and our outside foot. The shot's going to start on our inside foot. It's going to finish on our outside foot as we swing our hip and fire our hip back to the goal. The next progression is working on a QB drop step and using a sidearm release as we turn the corner and go up the hash. Here we can see our QB drop step as my inside leg is going to cross over my outside leg as I land on my back foot. Again, I want to be heavy on my back foot and get into my contact stance where I'm able to be aggressive to run through the defenseman's check or his stick above his top hand. On the shot, I want to make sure as I'm turning the corner and using a sidearm release, I'm punching my hands upfield so I can extend them and shoot around a defenseman. Again, we'll use the same footwork as it's a combination of our inside foot and our outside foot as our hips rotate and fire towards the back pipe. In our last progression, we'll use a bounce of a player's choice, and coming out of it, we'll use a jump shot. On our jump shots, this is going to come from our inside foot. We want to make sure we're releasing the ball at the highest point of extension, and we're releasing the ball before we get in the air. Releasing the ball when we're in the air will make us lose power and control and accuracy on the ball. We want to make sure we're hammering our front elbow down and we're keeping our top hand high. Again, we want to rip through with our front elbow and keep our top hand high to keep control over the ball. Thanks for following along. I had a lot of fun putting this together, and hopefully you were able to take something out of it. Again, I'd like to thank Coach Shamati and the entire Richmond staff for putting this together. If you have any questions about the drills, mechanics, or fundamentals, please feel free to reach out to me. Hope everyone stays safe and healthy, and hope to get back on the field soon.